Joe pushed open the door quietly, hoping to surprise his wife, but instead he froze. There on the cold floor of his mansion, his old mother Grace was on her knees, mopping the floor, shaking with tears. Her hands trembled, her face was wet, and Linda, his wife, was nowhere in sight. Joe's mouth opened in shock. His heart broke instantly. Joe and his mother Grace had always been like two best friends. After Joe's father died, Grace raised him alone in a small poor village. Their house was tiny and old, but their hearts were full of love. Every day, rain or sunshine, Joe and Grace worked on people's farms to survive. They cleared bushes, planted crops, carried heavy loads, anything to earn a little money for food. Even when they were tired, they encouraged each other with smiles. Grace had only one valuable thing in her life, a gold necklace her own mother gave her. One day, Grace called Joe to her side. She held the necklace in her wrinkled hands and said gently, "Joe, take this. Sell it. Use the money to go to the city. Make a better life for yourself." Joe didn't want to take it, but Grace insisted. So he sold the necklace, and the money he received changed everything. He traveled to the city and started a small business. Joe worked day and night, never giving up. In just 2 years, he became very successful. He bought a beautiful mansion and luxurious cars. His life transformed completely, but he never forgot the woman who sacrificed everything for him. He brought Grace to the city to live with him in his big home, and together they enjoyed their new life. Grace prayed every night, thanking God for blessing her son. They were finally happy. Life in the mansion was peaceful and filled with joy. Joe and Grace laughed often, cooked together, and enjoyed the comfort they never had in the village. Grace especially enjoyed her new life: soft bed, clean rooms, good food, and the love of her son beside her. After 1 year of success, Joe decided it was time to settle down. He met a beautiful woman named Linda. She looked gentle, spoke kindly, and always smiled at Grace. Grace immediately liked her and welcomed her like a daughter. Linda acted like the perfect wife. She helped in the kitchen, told funny stories, and sat with Grace every evening. Grace was happy that Joe had found such a lovely woman. Joe, too, felt blessed and trusted Linda so much that he believed she would take care of his mother whenever he traveled for business. Soon, Joe had to take a long trip that would keep him away for weeks. Before leaving, he held Linda's hand and said, "Please take good care of my mother. She's my world." Linda smiled sweetly. "You know I love Mama Grace. Don't worry." Joe believed her. But the moment Joe left, everything changed. Linda's sweet smile disappeared. She began shouting at Grace for the smallest things. If the chair was moved, if a plate was left in the sink, even if Grace walked too slowly. Grace, confused and hurt, could only stare at her in shock. Why was Linda suddenly so cruel? Every morning, Linda forced Grace to wake up early and clean the entire mansion before she could eat. Grace would mop the floors, scrub the kitchen, wash the bathrooms, and still get shouted at. The work was too much for an old woman, but she did it with tears streaming down her face, whispering prayers for strength. At night, Grace cried quietly, asking God why her son's wife was treating her this way. But she stayed silent because she didn't want Joe to worry or lose focus on his business. Days turned into weeks. Grace grew weaker. Linda grew bolder and meaner, and Joe had no idea. He kept calling home, and Linda always sounded cheerfully. "Mama is fine," she would say. "She's resting. Don't worry." Grace would hear her lies and quietly wipe her tears. Then came the day Joe returned home unexpectedly, and everything changed. Joe returned from his business trip earlier than planned. He wanted to surprise Linda and his mother, imagining they would run to hug him. But what he saw When he opened the door, almost stopped his heart. The mansion was quiet. Then he heard something, a soft, painful sob. He walked further and froze. There on the floor was his mother, Grace, on her knees, mopping the cold tiles with shaking hands. Tears poured down her cheeks. Her clothes were wet. Her back was bent. She was crying like a broken child. Joe's eyes widened. His mouth opened. His heart shattered. "Mama," he shouted, running to her. Grace quickly wiped her tears and tried to stand, but she was too weak. Joe held her gently and hugged her tightly. "Mama, what is this? Who asked you to do this?" Grace shook her head, unable to speak at first. Joe sat her down and held her hands. "Mama, tell me the truth now." Slowly, with tears flowing again, Grace told him everything. Linda's shouting, the insults, the forced cleaning, her hunger, her cries every night. She told him about all the suffering she had been hiding to protect him. Joe felt anger rise in his chest like fire. His hands shook. He could not believe his kind, innocent mother was treated like this in his house. At that moment, the door opened. Linda walked in, smiling, until she saw Joe. Her smile disappeared instantly. "Joe, you are back. I didn't know you." Joe cut her off with a loud voice full of pain and anger. "Linda, get out of my house." Linda dropped her bag in shock. "What?" "Joe, no, please let me explain. It was the devil. I didn't mean to." Joe pointed at the door. "No excuses. You made my mother cry. You disrespected the woman who gave me life. Pack your things and leave now." Linda fell on her knees, crying, but Joe did not look back. She took her bags and left the mansion, crying and begging, but Joe stood still and silent, determined and unshaken. When the door finally closed behind her, Joe turned to his mother and hugged her tightly. "Mama, I am so sorry," he whispered. "I will never leave you in anyone's care again. You will stay with me forever, I promise." Grace cried in his arms, not tears of pain, but tears of comfort. From that day onward, Joe and Grace lived peacefully, full of love and respect. They returned to their joyful life, grateful for each other, and never allowed anyone to come between them again. Moral lessons. Never mistreat the people who raised your partner. A parent deserves honor and kindness. Money can change your life, but it should never change your heart. Be careful who you trust. Not everyone smiling at you has a good heart. Parents sacrifice everything for their children. They deserve love, respect, and protection. God leaves the humble and exposes the wicked. Family love is stronger than any challenge. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your support means everything to me. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Your subscription helps my channel grow and allows me to keep creating more inspiring and emotional stories for you. Please don't leave. Stay with me, stay connected, and enjoy more amazing content coming your way. Thank you, and God bless you.